Hi, everyone, and welcome to our discussion on the new high school transfer rule approved by CIF that now allows students to switch schools for athletically motivated reasons. I'm Steve Dempsey with the Bay Area News Group, and joining our discussion today is Bay Area News Group Prep Sports Editor, Darren Sabedra.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, Darren. Also joining us is Southern California News Group reporter, prep writer, Steve Fryer.
Hello, everybody.
And just coming in for us, also on hand, editor and publisher of Cal High Sports, Mark Tennis.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Good to see you again.
Going really well. Thanks. So anyway, CIF has lightened up on student athletes who are seeking, or the parents or guardians are seeking, brighter pastures at another school, although there is still the sit-out period that's going on right now. And this is for families who do not move into the new school's boundaries. So this is just a straight transfer from their original addresses. Darren, can you tell us a little bit about the rule and what the process is to get a transfer?
So basically, the CIF changed some language in its previous transfer rule. Kids could always transfer. They just had to sit out. If they opened their mouths or the parents opened their mouths and said, hey, we're going there because we like that program, or anything that suggested athletically motivated reasons, they would have to typically sit out for an entire season. We had an example of that last year here in San Jose with four-star running back Maurice Washington III, who transferred from the Kings Academy in Sunnyvale, moved on over to Oak Grove, which was coming off a section championship. In their transfer application, they said that the mom said that the kid wanted to leave the Kings Academy because an assistant coach had left the program or was not retained, and the CCS, following the CIF's bylaws, declared the kid ineligible for the entire year. So now if he were to do that this year, he'd have to do the sit-out period, which would be usually about half the regular season, which means if the team goes deep into the playoffs, he could end up playing, 8 or 9 games, maybe even 10 games. So that's pretty much the rule in a nutshell, as I understand it.
Okay, Mark, what rules remain in place?
The main rules that remain in place is you can't follow a club coach to your new school, and there can't be undue influence, so there can't be recruiting involved. Those are the two main things that are still in place. So it's interesting. Darren mentioned the case at Oak Grove. We also had a pretty big one recently in the North Coast section where Khalil McKenzie and Jalen McKenzie, the sons of Reggie McKenzie, the general manager of the Oakland Raiders, were ineligible at Clayton Valley for a season, and that was a pretty big deal. And from what I could tell, Gil Lemon, who's the NCS commissioner, has been very strict about the rule, looking for any evidence whatsoever of the athletically motivated transfer, and has been ruling those kids ineligible. And we haven't really seen a lot of that in as much in Southern California, where those kind of cases, maybe because the kids in Southern California are smarter and they're not saying anything. The parents aren't saying anything, so it's hard to prove. So
with one big exception.
Yes. Well, you know about the ball one, and that was a good one.
Bagley too at Sierra Canyon.
That was a big one. Yes. You know about that one because you looked into the ball situation at Mater Dei. And that was a really interesting one because it related to the Bagley one. So in that sense, you could tell Bagley was probably ineligible because the dad said some stuff and ball didn't. So they're just taking out the language. So it's really hard to prove athletically motivated transfers. Parents are going to want to send their kids to the schools they think is the best place for them. And that's hard to beat. It's really hard to beat.
All right. Well, Steve, what are some legitimate reasons to approve a student athlete's transfer?
Well, to me, you know, the athletically motivated language, it was every kid who's transferring, who's a good athlete, is transferring for athletically motivated reasons. I really don't believe so, you know, Johnny Smith is transferring to Jones High because he likes their 4-H program, or that he's transferring, you know, to a Catholic school because he thinks Pope Francis is a cool guy. You know, it's obvious why these kids are transferring. So it was just such a charade the whole time. Bull, who Mark Tennis referred to, he's a 7'2" junior at Mater Dei High School, you know, nationally known basketball program, moved out here from Kansas. Now he went to Mater Dei. Okay, you know, Mater Dei's got a big basketball program. There's 70 some odd schools in Orange County, and Mater Dei is the highest level of all the basketball programs, the boys hoops programs here in Orange County. I'm going to bet that basketball was in his mind when he made that transfer. You know, he might think the cafeteria is really cool or something like that also, but basically basketball was it. He's the son of Manute Bol, the late great Manute Bol, who played in the NBA. So I think it's just such a charade that they're having this. So let's forget about it. The things to concentrate on really is the undue influence of recruiting, which around here in Southern California is pretty rampant. I know a guy who coaches in the Trinity League, which is this big league with Mater Dei, Santa Margarita, J. Sarah, Servite, St. John Bosco, and so on, and Orange Lutheran. And he said he was coached at college before he came out, started coaching Trinity League. He said, man, there's more recruiting going on at Trinity League than there was in college. So that's the thing you got to watch out for, some of the undue influence thing, like Mark was saying about following club coaches and also following a high school coach. Let's say a guy goes from coaching at Chino Hills like Steve Bake did to Fairfax, and you get a kid who transfers from Chino Hills to Fairfax. He's obviously following his coach. They're going to put the kibosh on that. So you have two things going on. You got the sit-out. You can be automatically eligible immediately if you do the valid change of residence. You can show like through your electric bills, whatever, you know, whatever you've got, your sort of your rental agreement, what have you. They've made the valid change of residence. Or you got to sit, if you don't do that valid change of residence, you got to sit out roughly 30 days, which is the SOP, which expired here for spring sports on April 3, according to my paperwork. Yeah. So those are the things you got to do. But basically, people are going to be eligible like crazy. I think this athletically motivated language being put the kibosh on that, I don't think it's going to open up any floodgates. I think we're still going to see the same number of transfers as we did prior to this move by the CIF State Federated Council.
Yeah.
Okay. The next few questions I'm going to ask, I'm just going to open it up to the panel and see what, you know, getting your response. I mean, isn't this kind of a cop-out for CIF and the sections that approve this? I mean, you know, saying that it's really impossible to monitor. I mean, couldn't CIF have found some cases, maybe institute some penalties in some high-profile schools, and pretty much making it a deterrent for other schools?
Well, I just don't know how. I mean, you look at the CCS, for instance. I mean, their staff isn't that large, so I don't know how they can police. You know, if they have 1,000 kids transferring in a year, I mean, I don't know how they can police it. If that number grows because of this, how do you police all those cases? That's what I most often hear is that, you know, as the CCS commissioner said, unless we were getting smacked in the face, there was no way we could prove some of this stuff.
And keep in mind that the proposal that passed was not a unanimous type of thing. There were a lot of sections that wanted to keep the language as it was. I know the Sac Joaquin did, and probably the North Coast too. I don't know for sure, but I know the
North Coast.
Hey, in the Southern Second Council meeting, you know, the vote to approve sending the Southern Section representative to State Federated Council meeting to, you know, vote yes on we're going to eliminate athletic motivated transfer was really super tight. I'll tell you something else about the CIF Southern Section, and I don't know about the other 9 sections of the state. They are fed up in the Southern Section with going to court all the time. We are in a legal, you know, ramification happy place down here in Orange County, especially the Southern Section in general. The Southern Section's not winning these cases too much, man, and the legal fees are piling up. It's really hard to prove these sorts of things in court too, you know, and for me, it's like, if kids want to move, they're going to move. What are you going to do? You know, if a kid moves from Jones High to Smith High because they got a better debate team, a better flag team, better trumpet section, kids are going to move. You know, is that a trumpet motivated transfer? I don't know. So, you know, I think letting people make these choices is something that the Southern section, the CIF in general, has decided they're going to do, and fight it in court all the time. They just weren't winning these cases.
Well, I think one of the big fears that's coming out, and you know, I know from in this area, I'm in Contra Costa County here. There's fears that, you know, of recruiting. I mean, are we going to see maybe more intense recruiting or some form of recruiting? I mean, you have social media, you have kids who know other kids in different schools who can communicate and say, hey, you want, you know, come to our school. I mean, or you have like maybe a traveling coach who's going to encourage a kid, a booster or something like that. And now do you see things like that getting ramped up?
I don't think it can get worse. It's like,
yeah, I don't think it'll get ramped up. I think it'll be the same as it always has. And now you're seeing it in an opposite way, where you're seeing this IMG Academy in Florida recruiting kids from California to go away from California and creating this even more ridiculous super prep program, you know. So you see it the other way as well.
You know, as far as like bowl going to Mater Dei, you know, recruiting, did they recruit anybody who's got a 13-year-old son who's 6'8" and is really good in basketball? They already know about Mater Dei and Sierra Canyon, and, you know, the football players up in the East Bay. You know, if you got a kid who's you know, 6'4", 250-pound 8th grade lineman, he's probably heard of De La Salle already. I bet De La Salle doesn't need to advertise for him. You know, it's like, you know, Mater Dei in basketball, De La Salle in football, Disneyland and entertainment, McDonald's and fast food. Why? You don't need to advertise. People know about you.
And I don't know if people know this, but at De La Salle, they do not take senior transfers. They don't want them because they want someone to go from the beginning of their program to the end. They don't want a senior to come in and mess it up.
Right. And they had that down here too for a while at least. And I don't know if that's still the case. My son went to Servite, and I know that was the case there. They were shutting the door on transfers as much as they could for the same reason I think that they had things at De La Salle. And that's pretty cool. I think that's the way it should go. It would be cool if more schools can do it. Now, of course, public schools cannot do that because schools, you move into that area, that school's got to take you in and you got to go. But the private schools, of course, they can be more selective and deny eligibility to somebody who they think is not a fit.
Well, that was a point I was about ready to bring up was, yes, Servite and Mater Dei and De La Salle obviously are doing this, but now it seems like we're bringing in the public schools almost as trying to go on equal ground with these other schools. So, I mean, what do you think about that?
In some cases that's true, but you know, in Long Beach Unified, they have open enrollment, and just about anybody that in Long Beach Unified can go to Long Beach Poly and play football. So that equates part of it. I had an interesting conversation with the Clovis West girls basketball coach, and one thing they do in Clovis Unified, which I think really helps them compete, is every elementary school feeds into every high school. So he can have a feeder program in the 3rd or 4th grade, and those kids get to Clovis West. They know his program already, and he's got freshmen coming in, and that's one way public schools that don't really have to recruit can actually compete with the privates, is by having deep feeder programs that go all the way to the 3rd and 4th grade.
I had a public school coach last week at a high profile football program tell me that he didn't want kids coming in at halfway through a season or, you know, halfway through their high school career. Said, you know, he's more old school and would prefer that they just started the school and finished the school and not move on and you know, he said he didn't want to accept kids coming in half.
Now, is he a public school guy, Darren?
Yeah, in a high profile school.
Good luck with that, because that kid moves in your attendance area.
Right.
You can't. You can't play football in my program. Woo! You know, your lawyer's going to be on the phone real fast.
Right.
God bless him for thinking that way, but you know, that's I don't know.
Well, what I found interesting too is the sections who agreed to this and the sections who did not. I mean, the ones who did not have a lower population. It seemed to me. I mean, did you guys feel that, you know, that that's kind of an interesting thing, how the Sac Joaquin section, North Coast, and North section were opposed to this?
Yeah, I think there is definitely a north-south little difference. I think in the South they looked at this as more of almost a semantic thing to get rid of some language, and in the North they looked at it as more of a statement about athletically motivated transfers. I think that was the difference to me.
Mark, you said the Sac Joaquin was unanimous. The NCS vote was unanimous at its board of managers meeting too. The CCS, surprisingly, wasn't even close to unanimous. It was like 25-10 was the vote to send their delegates on to vote to approve this. So that was a little surprising.
So I know you guys have seen the rule and all that. I mean, is it possible for each section to interpret this rule differently?
Well,
yeah, they all go ahead. Go ahead, Steve.
Mark. Take it away,
Mark.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Yeah, they interpret things differently in everything else. So why wouldn't they do it with this? They interpret every rule differently. They enforce things differently. The commissioners are all, you know, they're 8, 9, 10 different people, and they all look at things a different way. They all have of course they're going to do it differently.
You know, I know that CIF Southern Section Commissioner Rob Wygott, and the CIF Southern Section is the largest by far of the 10 sections with 500, whatever, almost 600 schools in the CIF Southern Section, which is geography-wise is huge, all the way up Bishop on one side of the state, Paso Robles on there down to, you know, San Clemente and all the way out to the Colorado River. It's pretty gosh darn large. CIF Southern Section Commissioner Rob Wygott, he has said that they want kids to be eligible. They want kids to be able to compete in interscholastic athletics. They've always tried to do all they can to make sure that kids are eligible and they can participate in interscholastic athletics. That's something they've stated to do. But it was so you know, if rules are so blatantly obviously goners, then you know they would put the stop on it, which they've done on a couple occasions, especially with the Marvin Bagley thing, because the dad said, "Nah, we need to go to a school with more exposure." Well, obviously it's athletically motivated, so that's why he sat out last year. But most parents, you know, they're not going to say anything, and you know, we're moving because of the, you know, we like the chemistry teacher over there has got really clean test tubes. That's why we're transferring, you know. So it's just been a charade the whole time.
Well, do you see this potentially at widening the gap between the haves and the have-nots? And I mean, this just isn't football or basketball. I mean, I would think it'd be all sports, where the bigger and better programs will probably get stronger, and maybe the smaller and the struggling programs are going to get weaker. What do you think?
Yes, I mean,
I definitely think that's going to happen. I mean, we ran a poll with a story that we did last week, and 70% said that they would definitely, the stronger programs would definitely get stronger, and they see a dramatic increase in this. And I'm thinking, you know, if you don't have to worry about sitting out a full year, and you're only sitting out the 30-day period, which is basically the non-league season, I think you could potentially see a lot more kids transferring.
I think it's a sport by sport thing. In football, if you sit out the first 30 days, you can be sitting out 4 or 5 of the biggest games of the year if you're in a bad league. I mean, the Long Beach Poly kid who got the quarterback, Matt Corral from Oaks Christian, he's going to miss a lot of their early season games, which is their biggest games. He's going to come back for their league blowouts and then go to the playoffs. So that could actually, you know, be a detriment to what he wants to do. But bottom line, it doesn't matter really what high school you go to as far as getting a college scholarship and moving on to the next level. The colleges are going to find you no matter where you are. I think it does matter sport by sport. I don't think it's ever going to be a big problem in baseball, which there's so much great play everywhere in California. In football, the biggest concern that I have is these superstar programs that are emerging in Southern California, the big three, Corona Centennial, Mater Dei, St. John Bosco. Those three were so far better than everybody else last season, and I don't see that changing next season, and who knows when. And the only team in the North that even has a chance of even competing with those three is De La Salle, and they couldn't even do that last year. So that's the biggest problem, I think, is these super football programs getting better and better and better, and really no one else even coming close.
You know, here's an interesting deal that happened last year, and sometimes kids will be at one of those big three schools and realize, man, I'm not going to get the playing time here. I'm not going to get the exposure. I'm moving out. Good example of this is
In Viejo quarterback.
The Matt McDonald story. You know what I'm talking about, right, Mark? And so
Yeah.
Matt McDonald, starting quarterback his junior year at Mater Dei in the 2015 season, fractures his wrist first quarter of the first game. They bring in a freshman named JT Daniels, who goes in there, just goes off, has an all Orange County, all CIF, all state season. And then Matt McDonald going to senior year. Well, you know, I'm getting out of here. So he goes over to Mission Viejo, starts over there, has a fine year. And because he knew he wasn't going to make it over there. So there is some sort of matriculation getting out of those schools. I mean, there are all kinds of guys all over the place who were at a school. In fact, there was an Orange Lutheran kid, basketball kid, wasn't getting any PT over there, went over, got a lot of minutes and got a lot of minutes and got some exposure. So there's some of that sort of submatriculation, dematriculation, if you will, that's going on that way. But, you know, like Mark was saying, if they know, but if you're good, they're going to find you. I mean, Rashard Matthews, who's in the NFL, receiver in the NFL, he went to Saddleback High School, which was probably 2-8, 1-9 when he was a senior. Still went up to the Pacific Northwest, played college football up there, played for the Jets, played for various other places. O'Neal Cousins played 7 years in the NFL. He played 8-man football at Eastside Christian, which doesn't even have a football program anymore. Got a full ride to UTEP, drafted, 7-year NFL career. So like Mark is saying, especially in baseball, oh my gosh, if you're good, they will find you.
Okay, well, last question. Is this good, or the transfer rule now, is it good or bad for high school athletics, and is it good or bad for high schools overall?
Darren,
I dumped you guys there a little bit.
I don't know. It's hard to say good or bad. I mean, it's I'm siding a little bit on the bad, but I don't think it's like cataclysmically bad. I don't think it's, you know, horrible bad. I mean, it's
not going to open a floodgate.
I don't know.
It's already that floodgate. That thing is the Oroville Dam broke years ago, man. This is not going to change anything.
Yeah, no.
People who want to transfer are going to transfer. Now they can sort of say, you know, just be more open about why they're transferring. We all know why these guys are transferring. Everybody knows why somebody's transferring out of Mater Dei to get to Mission Viejo. Everybody knew what Matt McDonald was going to transfer over to Mission Viejo for. It wasn't for the Ag Farm program. It was to get some time playing quarterback at a very good football program where they turn out quarterbacks like crazy. You know, and so everybody knows these things. It's just really taking the bogus veil off of this stuff. We know why kids are transferring. It's been like I say, a charade. They're going to transfer. Kids are going to move from one school to another for various reasons. The cheerleading program, the band, debate team. They got a French club over there that's good, or they got a really good basketball program over there. Or that quarterback just graduated, that point guard just graduated. I'm going to go over there. Tell you what, when Spencer Friedman, the senior to be point guard at Mater Dei, when he graduates after his coming senior year, there's going to be some point guard somewhere that's going to want to step in. The bad thing about this is that freshman kid who's been at Mater Dei, paid his dues the whole time, or whatever high-level school, I'm just saying Mater Dei because it's prevalent in my head, that kid who's paid his dues all the way through, all of a sudden some kid transfers in, takes his spot. You know, that's kind of the rough thing about this. But There's going to be no floodgate of the movement is still going to be crazy all over the place, which keeps me busy.
You also have to keep in mind that now we have open and not open enrollment. We have competitive equity playoff divisions, and that's going to be more and more around the state. It's going to be, we've seen it in the southern section. And if you're not at one of the superstar programs, you can play at a lower school in Division 4, Division 3, and you can have a great experience like the kids at Mission of San Francisco. My God, they're like superstars right now. They're at Giants games, Warriors games. And if you know they're in Division 3, would they have won in Division 1? Probably not. Would they have won in the Open? Certainly not. But they had this great experience. They won Division 3, and a lot of schools with competitive equity divisions are going to be able to still have these great experiences for their kids and their athletes and their parents, and everyone's going to get excited. They're going to get good media coverage because they're winning state titles. And some of us in the media are going to go, yeah, well, that's Division 4. But for the kids and the schools, it's a great thing. So, you know, that definitely,
Look at San Clemente this year, Mark. San Clemente. They're the kids of the town. They have a parade. The city council does this and that. You know.
And what was the score when they played Mission Viejo?
Yeah, they got killed by Mission, but they went to the right place in the playoffs. Just like when Esperanza, you know, in boys basketball, they were an open division of section, got placed into Division 2 in hoops,
right?
Boom, all the way to state. There's great stuff like this. There's still plenty of cool opportunities, still plenty of great stories like Mission of San Francisco, first state champion out of the city. What a wonderful thing, man!
It was awesome
for old guys like us not to root for kids like that, isn't it?
No, it's hard not to. Of course it is. Right. No, it was awesome.
The San Clemente thing. Oh my gosh. How golden. Beautiful.
Steve, back to your question. I think it is good in the sense that kids can now be more honest. I mean, you know, if you're on social media or on Twitter or whatever, and you make a mistake, if you're transferring under the old rule and you suggest that you're transferring because of athletically motivated reason, or you're talking to me or Mark or Steve, and you make the mistake and start talking about the football program or the basketball program, and the CCS or the previous school or somebody sees that and reports that, you're all of a sudden sitting out a whole year. With the new rule, you can be honest as long as you're not getting recruited or following a coach, and your sit out period, if you don't move into the school district's boundaries, is 30 days.
Hey, you know what, guys? There is no recruiting going on in Orange County high schools. You know how I know? Because I have every coach, every athletic director I've ever asked says, no, we don't recruit. No, we don't recruit. No, we don't recruit. So therefore, since there are no athletic directors say their school's recruiting, no coaches say, they must all be telling the truth. There's no recruiting going on in Orange County. So I'm not even worried about it. I believe that every coach and every athletic principal telling me the truth. There's no recruiting going on over there, and you all got a bridge to sell me someplace now, don't you?
Their knowledge, there's no recruiting.
What's the percentage of transfers down there? Is it 5%, 2%? How many kids transfer down there?
It's crazy. I mean, the transfers that are going on and the rumors of it down here, it's you know, the best thing, you know, to own, you know, invest in U-Haul if you're in Orange County, because there's so much transfers going on down here. It is wild, and a lot of it's just delusional parents. You know, the grass is greener on the other side. Parents are delusional. Look at the NC2A stats, parents, about how many kids are going on and getting an NC2A full rider from there going on to pros. It is so tiny. Just stay at the school you're at. Forget about it. And by the way, you know, and every parent should take his kid who's a basketball parent should take his kid to the Nike Extravaganza tournament, one day showcase they do at Mater Day. And, you know, and you take a look at those kind of players. You tell your kid, you know what, son, we're going to work more on the math than your jump shot because you ain't competing with these guys, man. So, you know, there's so many delusional parents out there who think their son is, you know, the next LeBron James. We can't stop that delusion thing. There's no rule that can stop the delusionality that is out there. And I just made that word up.
That's a good word.
I think obviously there's a big difference between North and South in terms of transfers. I mean, at least in this area, I don't see it.
It's an illness out here, man. There's got to be a 12-step program.
Transfer season.
All right. It never stops around here, man. It's just constant, hey, so-and-so's going to, I mean, I could just fill 2 columns a week just on transfer rumors.
That's just
Okay.
boys basketball too. And boys basketball is still the worst.
Oh, it is. It's a cesspool, man.
All right. Well, I'm going to cut this off. This has been a very lively discussion, and I appreciate it. I appreciate your time, Darren, Mark, Steve. Thank you very much for joining us, and that is today's broadcast. Thanks for joining.
It was great being with you guys because I've known Darren a while. I've known Mark a long time, and it's good to meeting you too. We got a lot of pros working here. I've always enjoyed the fellows' work that they're on this little panel here. Mark and I go way back. Nobody does a better job of state rankings than Mark Tennis and Cal High Sports. Period.
Thank you. You guys do great work too. Obviously, great. Good stuff.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.